Welcome to another Random Talk Sunday, and today I thought it would be interesting to discuss something that I think a lot of people, uh, in particular within the Western world, have probably experienced throughout their lifetimes, and I think we've all experienced this particular topic that I'm going to discuss today in fairly different capacities, I guess. And that discussion involves vacation. Um, I've always enjoyed vacation, and I mean, I think everybody enjoys vacation, whether that means being able to go somewhere that you've always wanted to go to and have never had time for because you've been working or in school, etc. Whether it be just finally being able to just relax for a little bit and not having to have any deadlines or anything else on your shoulders and whatnot. And I thought it would be cool to kind of address sort of my thoughts when it comes to this topic and how I feel like it still holds importance. I mean, obviously, sometimes vacations can be a little bit excessive at some points. Um, I would say, especially within my schooling, I felt like that they dragged on for a really long time, considering the fact that usually it was within a span of 3 months of the year. Um, but without further ado, let me sort of um, kind of give you my experiences as far as vacations. Usually, either they were fairly busy and there was a lot of different activities and things going on that I was involved in, or there wasn't a whole lot much going on, or it was kind of a mix in between of a lot of stuff going on and then nothing going on. And I think usually vacations in some respects sort of involve these various stages, kind of. Um, and I just remember vacations almost feeling as kind of long as the school year, only because sometimes there just wasn't a plan or there wasn't some kind of, you know, initiative or anything. Heck, I tried constantly to apply for, summer jobs and things like that, and I never got any work work from it, or any response anyways to work. So, it's kind of one of those things where, you either have sort of a plan or you don't. Um, at least that's how I've experienced vacations a lot of the time. It's usually, I have a plan, I know what's going to happen, or I kind of have to plan things on my own. And usually, sometimes that'll end up involving something, or I won't be able to find anything that I can really do. So I'll just kind of, just zone out and just, stay indoors. And usually within California, that's a lot of the times what ends up happening because it just gets way too warm, especially. So people will just kind of stay indoors. I'm sure it's also in other places too around the country, like in Texas and Arizona. I'm sure those places get really warm too. So unless you go to the beach, though, that's really the only place where you can kind of really cool off. And if then, you have to spend the money to drive out there, and it's kind of one of those things where, vacations usually they involve uh, some planning or they don't. But I've always found vacations to at least be fun, and I think traveling is great, and doing like outdoor activities like hiking and things like that. I think those are really good activities to have, and I feel are more fulfilling than just sitting around and not really doing much. But at the same time, you kind of have to have those days because that's just kind of how they were structured, at least for me when I was in school. But now since I am working, I don't really have that same amount of um, leeway when it comes to vacation because I don't get as much of it. But at the same time, it's rewarding when you can go on vacation and, you can say that I earned this and this amount of money and worked something to finally be able to go on vacation. So it has a lot of benefits, I think, vacation. Can they sometimes be a little bit excessive? Do you is there is there certain parts or certain areas, I guess you could say, that have more vacation time than others? Are there certain professions that give more more days off than others? Yeah, I and I think though it's vacation I still think is important for people to have. I mean, I don't think that everybody should be forced to constantly feel in a state of work. Um, I think some vacation is a good thing. It's just sometimes depending on where you live and your profession. Sometimes people get a lot more vacations than others. So it just kind of, I think, just depends and what I guess you consider a worthy amount of vacation time. Um, but I think at the end of the day, with summer and everything, I think it's worth to at least have some time to plan something and go somewhere and just do something, even if it is really small. And it's maybe only a couple of days or a weekend or things like that. Those kinds of small vacations to kind of get away and unwind, I think are important and kind of give a sense of, I think, well-being to people so they don't feel like constantly being a machine, working all day and working all the time. So again, but I can understand that it can be something that people could abuse and overuse excessively. Um, but for me personally, I think it's it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how you use it, I guess, that I think really matters. But uh, but from my experience, it's usually been one of those things where um, I would either have vacation for an excessive amount of time, or I wouldn't really have so much vacation, or just maybe little random holiday vacations given here and there. At least for now, that's pretty much how it's structured. So it's kind of interesting to be in this state of not having that vacation period, because I've been so used to having that throughout all of my schooling. And now that I don't have the 3 month vacation, it'll be interesting to see how that all turns out. But I think, um, despite me not having so much of it anymore, I still feel like um, it'll be all worthwhile because at the end of the day, I think it's not so much the amount of vacation you have; it's just sort of how you use it, and I think that's really the most important thing. And for me personally, I think there's just a lot of value in, using your vacation to go somewhere and do something. And, if and relaxing too is also, I think, important as well. So, I think it's just really all about how you use it. And I think using it wisely is really beneficial for people. And I think people end up getting more motivated once they have a certain amount of vacation to get back to work after some time. So I think that's really what vacation really boils down to. It's just some time to unwind and time to plan things that ultimately you want to do and you want to experience. And I think that's kind of that is a sort of a sense of, freedom. But at the same time, I think, kind of earning it brings out, I think, a little bit more fulfillment, so to speak. Um, and therefore you appreciate your vacation more. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this topic. I would be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say in regards to this, and how they've experienced vacation. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of in the transitionary period where, I'm not going to be having the 3-month vacation. But I figure that's okay because at the end of the day, it'll all be worth it when I eventually do get vacation. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.